Gratcast 104 underway here, John.
It's already 104?
Oh, it's 104. We are officially in the new Gratcast studios, too, John.
Oh, that's nice. I like this.
Yep. Well, little callback here to our Discover card envelopes that they keep sending me. A few new ones have been added to the edition, so on a weekly basis now you'll be able to get to watch them grow. Tim the Head is back joining the party.
There we go.
He's been on mothballs for a while, but now we've got an official show location. We brought Tim the Head back, John.
I like that. Looks like he's winking at us, too.
Stay in your game, or he's going to take over for you.
Yeah, it wouldn't be tough.
All right, John. My little intro tidbit this week is fairly depressing, and jokes on us, ha ha ha. So I'm going to let you go first. What anything interesting happened to you this week? Something to talk about?
I don't know that anything interesting per se had happened, but on the way here, I was discussing with you the route that we came. It reminded me of 6 years ago when I lost vision in my right eye.
That's no good.
No, it definitely wasn't. It was painless, and I lost it in 3 days. But we were driving by, I think it was the exit. I forgot the exit, but I remember I mentioned Olive View Hospital. And what had happened was ultimately, just out of the blue, I think it was around the new year, too, I started to lose vision in my right eye, and it started to kind of creep up a little bit. And I thought something was on the contact or something, because I wore contacts back then. I'm like, no, nothing. And then the second day, I lost like half to 2/3 of the vision.
Yeah, you waited a long time before you finally took action on that.
Oh, that's what they
You're
said.
like, I don't know, guys. I lost about 20% yesterday.
Well, I just for some moronic reason, call it male stupidity or just plain stupidity, I just thought it was a temporary condition. I thought it was something that, it went so it can come back. I'd never had something like that happen. I just didn't realize. Clearly, I made a mistake. So I go to the hospital 3 days later when I have no vision in the eye. And what's the guy say to me? Angrily, he
went to the chop shop.
I went to Kaiser.
Didn't they send you to Olive View? Well, who actually tried to do the surgery?
Long story short, because it's a long story. So I went to Kaiser because I didn't know which hospital to go to. They didn't have benefits and everything, so I told my roommate to drive me. That's where he took me. Don't go to Kaiser if you don't have Kaiser insurance. They don't want to deal with it. They'll destroy you. They charged me $6,000 for a CAT scan.
Sounds about right.
Yeah. So I realized that that's not the route to go. So I go to UCLA because I hear they have a good ophthalmology program. I go to UCLA and they actually have a fund for people who can't afford it. And they're like, we can help you. Sometimes we can pay for the whole thing.
We'll let the students practice on you.
So I was like, well, okay. And then they're like, well, except the fund is currently empty now. So we can't help you. But I know. But what we can do is we can send you to our sister hospital, Olive View County Hospital. Our sister hospital. But our residents...
We're right there equal to each other.
We have a resident program for ophthalmology as well. But you also have UCLA doctors going there and doing their rounds. So you supposedly have the same help.
Just so you know,
in a county
there's
hospital.
UCLA campus, which is one of the heights, the pinnacles of medical research and all of that. And then you have Olive View, the sister care, which is actually a county hospital.
Yeah, and the county hospitals, they're not typically as good as other hospitals, if you don't know.
Dude, it's
kind of like a chop
farm.
shop.
Yeah, they're just herding you from one spot to another.
It is.
Everybody's like doing death marches down the hallways.
Well, there's so much to the story. And people wanted to help me. My friends were all very helpful. Even some family that had lived there at the time
GoFundMe back in the day
was helpful. And so they're like, hey, can I give you a ride to the hospital? Do you need a lift? And I was like, oh, that'd be great.
Too bad they didn't have lift back
then. And then my friend would give me a ride, and then I would go in, and they would sit and wait for me. And it's boring in the waiting rooms. If anyone's been in a hospital, you know waiting rooms are the worst. So
first come, first serve.
Everyone who helped me only helped me once. Because they knew that it was so shitty to go to the hospital and sit there. It's like, I'm so bored, I don't have any internet connection, so I'm sitting there doing nothing. And I'm like, well, I'm sorry, thank you for the help. And everyone was kind about that regard. But it was just tough to sit there and wait.
It's set up very much like we've talked about other things. To be as miserable and excruciating of an experience as possible. So you're not encouraged to go there unless it's absolutely a can't live without it situation. And then even then, they try to filter you out on who's going to give up and quit along the way before you get to the end.
Yeah,
and maybe you'll
and most of my friends did. And even my family. My cousin helped, bless her soul, and helped bless my friends and you as well. Everyone who helped. But then it came time to, well, you're going to have to pull up the bootstraps and do it yourself. So I had 3 surgeries on my right eye, and I still don't have basically any vision in my right eye.
He can't beat that deaf, dumb, and blind kid, but he sure plays a mean video game for a guy with just one eye.
Well, all things being equal, I suppose.
Call him Deadshot.
So one of the surgeries, I actually didn't have anyone to come pick me up, so I lied to the hospital and told them I had a ride. I went out and pretended I was going to my ride and walked to my car and drove myself home because all the surgeries were outpatient surgery, and I couldn't stay the night at the hospital ever. I woke up in the middle of one of the surgeries. I don't know if I told you. I woke up and I felt instant pain. I don't think
you're supposed to wake up
because they were in the middle of it, and I'm white knuckling. I'm just white knuckling like. Oh my! And then I'm like, oh my god, I'm in so much pain. They're like, Mr. Hoadley,
you're not awake right now. This isn't happening.
I was like, oh my god, and it hurts so bad. And they're like, oh, they're stumbling and tripping, and they're like, oh, Mr. Hoadley, we've got an anesthesiologist. They're coming. It'll just be a couple of minutes, okay? And I'm like, oh my god.
Like, you see any freaky shit going on?
I couldn't, dude. I had one of my this eye was. They had it blocked off.
Did you sense any freaky shit going on?
Well, I felt blood trickle into my ear from my eye, and then when I woke up after the surgery, I would scratch my eye like over here. I was like, "What's that?" And I was like, "Crusty blood." They didn't even clean the blood off my face. Chop shop. So, long story short, I know that could go on forever. 3 years later, 3 surgeries later, I still don't have vision in the eye, and I guess that's where we stand. That was my story.
Does that relate to anything this week?
It was just us when we were coming back. It just reminded me on the way here of that traumatic time that had happened because I made about 50 trips from my place to that hospital.
All right, then. I feel like I should give a general public notice announcement at this point in time. We do not, in fact, have a female or anyone tied up off camera behind stage. That is the bear. You hear whining and crying in the background. He misses his mama. She's on the other side of the glass, handling the producer stuff and in the producer's booth. Yeah. But Bear is going to keep crying until we tie him up. Yeah. So he's going to get tied up soon. But anyway, my thing this week, John, that actually is something that happened this week, and the Bills found a new low, a new way to say, hey, everybody make fun of us because this hasn't happened before. The new vernacular is not pulling Avante Davis. So if John doesn't tighten up with some better stories this episode, you might find me walking out in the middle of the show and just saying, I'm done. I quit. I retire. And the lesson learned through all of this, if you say you're done, you're not really a quitter because you're done. You can't quit if you're done.
I mean, you're actually saying this as if everyone even knows what you're talking about. Well, obviously, we talked about it, so we know what
you're right. I should recap.
Give it something.
So the Buffalo Bills this past Sunday found themselves down 28-6 at halftime, and a 9-year veteran decided he wasn't going to tell anybody shit. He was done. He retired at halftime, changed into street clothes, got in his car, and he was home before they kicked off the second half. And even better, he had a press release and a statement on Instagram before they wiped the sweat off their faces in the locker room after the game.
Who does that? Who quits in the middle of a game? Not even quits, retires.
The national media is flabbergasted that this happened. It's never occurred that anybody can remember in any sort of professional sports. All these macho men athletes are totally offended by what happened.
So what's the speculation though? Was he was so upset with the team and he didn't think he could succeed, so he retired, or
based on his little statement that he made, which one of the Buffalo journalists made a great Twitter comment. It was the Gettysburg Address was 272 words. Vontae Davis's retirement speech was 297. But it basically amounted to, I didn't feel I could play up to my standard of playing, and I realized I was done, so I was done. Right there, on the spot.
Here I am. I'm tripping over my own words because I literally don't think that's ever been done ever anywhere in sports ever. Right? That's the only time. I'm gonna start calling you VD from now on.
We're not having commercials this week, John. No commercials.
None.
Commercial-free episode.
None.
Enjoy it.
You're welcome.
We are going to have 2 little cutaways to a little Gratwick branding message, but no third-party commercials this week. The reason, payday is down for the count, John.
Down for the count? What happened?
Down for the count. Well, they're taking a step back to grow 10 steps bigger, is what it really amounts to. So payday is in the process of shuttering, and they're going to re-rise as esports labs. And I hope I'm not letting the cat out of the bag before I'm supposed
I hope
to.
you're not either.
I asked Silver if I was supposed to say these things or not, and he said go with it. So
well, there you go.
We're going with it. So with that being said, John and I are not going to be doing our Fortnite tournament this Thursday like we were planning last week. We talked about last week. Esports Labs is hoping to be back up and running within a week or two on their new, better, stronger, more diverse platform, and they'll be up and running with the tournaments again. When that happens, John and I are jumping in the mix.
And let me just jump in here and say this. You better get your practice in. There's got to be 2 of you. And if you're going to come after us, you got to have one guy that hides in the bush and one guy that shoots.
So one guy that searches for the guy hiding in the bush.
It'll be fun, seriously, you guys. So by all means, join up and let's have a blast.
John's the shooter. I'm the free life.
The guy,
I hide until he dies, and then I do what I can.
The guy with one eye is the shooter. Remember that. Remember that.
I got to close an eye to aim down the scope. He just looks down the scope. All right. So first topic of the week is Bryan Singer. This I can't believe. First and foremost, that we're still talking about this motherfucker.
I used to love that guy, by the way. Before anything came out, I thought he did some great work. I mean, not to take away from the crap he's done.
The weird ones always do, John.
Of course.
The weird ones always do.
Of course.
Bryan Singer, for those that don't know, has been haunted and just chased down with allegations and suits and rumors, and you talk about Harvey Weinstein as an open secret in Hollywood, and Bryan Singer is right up there with an open secret. Anybody that's been in this town for a short period of time, I'm sure has heard something or knows somebody that's experienced something. It's not much of an open secret. So because of all of this and the Me Too movement and all of that, he got the X-Men franchise taken away from him. People were done with it. So he loses a major studio franchise because of the stink on his name and the suspicion of what's going on here. And before the dude can even hit the ground and say, I'm on vacation, another studio wants to swoop in and give him their franchise. The Red Sonja comic book series is getting a blockbuster treatment, and he's in talks to head this thing up. It's just amazing to me how you would even fine. You're inevitably they're going to recycle all of these guys back into the culture and all of that and act like nothing ever happened. Everybody knows that crap's coming.
Right.
But the turnaround time is already happening faster and faster and faster.
Well, I mean, I thought we spoke. It might have even been before last week's show, but isn't Louis C.K. back and doing comedy and making jokes about what happened to him?
He tried to. I haven't heard of him doing another set since. But yeah, he came back, made some rape jokes.
And I like Louis C.K. I did, but it's like what's going on? How is it like you get your punishment and then I got my punishment and someone said they slapped me on the wrist, so it's okay. Now I can go back to what I was doing. How is that possible?
I think even considering somebody like Bryan Singer is the counter to the movement. It's the spite pushing back now and saying, you know what? Screw you. We're going to hire him because what are you going to do about it? You're going to bitch, you're going to moan, you're going to charge social movements, all that, then you're going to go see our movie. I just think that these executives are getting to a point where this is their pushback, that no, we're not going to. Or it's even worse. Or that studio's misfortune, and they bowed to the public pressure and got rid of Bryan Singer, is our opportunity. Now we can swoop in and get a blockbuster director on the cheap because he's on the comeuppance now, and so they're looking at it like an easy opportunity.
But there's a reason the other studio let him go. The blowback is huge. Now you're going to take that, and you're going to get the blowback. Like, you don't see that happening, or are they smart and know something we don't know?
Why is Randy Gregory still in the NFL?
I mean, that's a good point.
Why did the Patriots today just trade for Josh Gordon? Because no matter how much everybody wants to have comeuppance, no matter how much everybody wants to have their day of revenge, no matter how much this is all good, feel-good stories, at the end of the fucking day, the only thing in America that matters is goddamn talent. And if you have enough of that talent, they'll look the other way. There'll always be somebody looking to make a buck off of your talent and give you another opportunity. And if you fail and fuck up this opportunity or prey on somebody and get booted and outed, sit on your money for a couple months, and then there'll be somebody else that'll come knocking, and they'll give you an opportunity, but they'll be looking at it as a deal for them because they're getting you coming off your stink and all of that. Because again, marketing and publicity has also thus nobody loves a comeback story better than America.
Oh, yeah.
So everybody, and now that you got Tiger Woods as the poster child, everybody loves Tiger again. I want Tiger to root and succeed. Yada yada yada. Now all the publicists have that they can point to and hold up to it. You could be bigger than Tiger Woods' comeback. Everybody will love you again. If Tiger Woods can come back, you can come back.
So the statute of limitations has now passed on Tiger's transgressions, and now because everyone's okay.
Well, yeah, of course, because he was gone for a little while. He was quiet, didn't say anything stupid. Then he tried to come back. He struggled, failed. Let everybody laugh at him. Tiger's done. Tiger's washed up. Yeah. Had some back surgeries. Went through that tough road of recovery. Tried to come back again. Failed. Had another back surgery. And now he's back, and he's actually like on an elite, almost coming back to a competitive level. Oh, you can't. America eats that shit up. Are you kidding me?
Why is it that we all something better? Why do we all turn a blind eye? And I don't say we all, but I mean like in general, the masses. Why does everyone just turn a blind eye to all that?
Because like this goes back to the Romans and that. We champion our heroes, and then the only thing better than a hero rising from nowhere,
is a fallen hero rising,
is tearing that hero down so they can rise again. Because there's nothing left once they're a hero. You gotta bring them down, make them fucking human, and beat them up, rough them up, and then watch them rise again. But that instinct, that desire, is being applied to the bad guys. They're taking that outline, that architecture, and they're using the blueprint and applying it to these scumbags. Oh, we just package you correctly as the fallen hero, and up she goes.
And it works, though. That's the problem. If it didn't work, then
it works every time as long as there's talent in the mix. Because America, number one, we want to forgive you. We want you to learn your lesson and be better for it, because that means we can. I'm all for second chances, but it's being manufactured and manipulated against us to serve the agendas of the very predatory people that we're finally holding accountable.
Yeah, but these predatory people, it's not like. Because we discussed last week, I asked that question about what do second chances, and it's like, well, certain things, maybe you should tell people. I don't even know what did Bryan Singer do to what was his punishment?
There was no punishment. He lost X-Men.
That's a punishment, but I mean, he's still, like you say, he's still directing.
He lost X-Men, and he's absolutely destroyed, berated, attacked, and has the most lethal legal team in all of Hollywood that has come down on anyone that's tried to speak out. Tried to share their story, any of that. There's been nobody that's been more brutal on alleged victims than Bryan Singer. They're like, he's got the Hollywood kiss of invincibility behind him when it comes to this stuff. That, like, you won't. He'll be the last piece to fall because he's so well protected and guarded. Because if he goes down, the curtain behind what comes after that is just too much to deal with.
So I'm curious now how this. I'm not going to watch it, but I'm curious how this Red Sonja thing plays out. Does it play out? And the fans are like, the guy did what he did. We can't accept it. We're not going to support this, or they're going to turn around and they're going to be like, this is the greatest film ever made.
I don't even understand how you allow your publicist to say you're in talks with Bryan Singer for a movie the same week that Predator is an absolute financial failure and a disaster ever since Olivia Munn took a stand and shit got ugly internally.
That's why I'm curious to see how the Red Sonja thing pans out, because if it bombs, it could be a good property, but if you've got the wrong people involved, it's
the establishment is banking on the fact that people are getting exhausted with it. And now you got Asia Argento and Rose McGowan, who, by the way, were the worst two faces that you could possibly have for the face of this movement, and not to be attacked and torn down, which you knew they were going to be up against. Now you got one of them that's got her own accusations against her and all of that. The other one's freaking calling her out. They're fighting each other. Now you got a cat fight, one threatening to sue the other one and all of that. And this is supposed to be the figureheads of the movement.
Yeah, that's
it's a shame, John.
It's frustrating. It honestly is. I know I'm here laughing, but I'm laughing out of frustration as to why these people just
because all they got to do is wait it out.
Yeah, wait it out, and
they got enough money to do it.
You will be rewarded. And it seems like a lot of people in this country higher up would have obviously money, because obviously those of us that don't, you're going to jail. You're going here. You're the ones that the jails are built for, not these high-powered execs but they should be.
All right, John. So moving on to a little bit of conspiracy type stuff this week. There's been some strange going-ons in New Mexico, of all places. Of course, it's always New Mexico.
Always.
Always. The Sunspot Observatory was shut down under shady circumstances. John, I'm going to let you jump on this grenade here and set this up on a tee for us to talk about.
What is it? Like a few days back? It was a few days back, correct? Just help me.
It was about a week ago, at least now, that they showed up.
That scientists observed something when they were looking through the telescope that crossed across the path of the sun. And I don't know if they speculated what it was, but everyone else speculated what it was.
Of course.
And
that's part of the internet.
Before I even speculate, what happened is the
FBI
and just the men in black and everyone showed up, and they basically shut them down, and they said that there was some criminal activity in the area. So in order to keep everyone safe, let's shut down the observatory. Let's get all the residents to go away. What kind of crime is it? They still haven't said what happened.
After the fact, they just gave that information last day or so. For the past week, they've let speculation run rampant because they just wrote everything off as a security issue. Didn't tell the local sheriff anything. And the strangest part about the whole thing is, all right, fine, shit's going down at the observatory.
Yeah.
Why'd they lock down the post office down the road?
But they even got the people out of town too. Like, everybody, go for your safety.
Black Hawk helicopters were showing up, seen all over the place.
And it's unbelievable. Of course, everyone's going to speculate from aliens to whatever, but why would they do it and not say anything once again?
You don't do yourselves any favors when you bum rush a solar observatory in the middle of nowhere, shut that shit down, and don't want to tell anybody anything. Even the local sheriff isn't told anything.
No.
We've all seen X-Files. I've seen that play out a gazillion times. Every single damn alien show ever starts with no questions, shutting this area down, the military's in, it's a security issue.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, you couldn't play it out any more stereotypical.
Yeah, and the sheriff was quoted. He was like, they didn't tell me anything. I don't know what's going on, but I know the FBI's there because I saw them.
Yeah. Then like halfway through the week, when now there's rumors online that more observatories are getting shut down and all of that, which couldn't be confirmed. But then like a guy from the observatory comes out and gives the obligatory, I don't know what's going on, but it's not aliens. Which just makes it like,
I'm going to give you some ammo to use by denying it. When that's the next thing. It could be this, it could be that, or we're not sure. It's definitely not aliens, so don't think it's aliens.
It's like the meme of that dude from Ancient Aliens. I'm not saying it's aliens, but it's aliens.
That's funny. But I just don't understand. Like, and are we going to get answers? Do you think we'll get them? Probably not, right? We're all going to have to speculate.
Well, the end of the article you were reading earlier was talking about how there's some sort of criminal issue going on in the area, and they didn't want to tell everybody, so they let this hysteria build because they didn't want to give the suspect the heads up.
Yeah, that's right.
Which the question is, number one, what kind of badass dude were you guys expecting? You're bringing in the Blackhawks, you're shutting down the observatory, clear out the town.
Did the Hulk come into town? Like, what's going on?
What was headed in that direction that you guys decided to prepare for the worst, number one? Number two, if you're telling us all of this stuff now, does that mean you got the guy? Because you told us you couldn't tell us this stuff because the guy was on the loose, but you're not saying that you caught the guy.
That's true.
So how is what you're telling us now not compromising the guy if he's still on the loose? And if he's not still on the loose, why'd you say he's not still on the loose?
So we actually have to wait until they press some sort of charges or file whatever they do, and if they do anything.
John, I'm old enough now at this age where and I've been following rabbit holes for a good 10 years, and I've seen this pattern play out too many times. Crazy, weird story. Goofy, strange things are going on. Follow it for a couple days, then it just falls out of the cycle, and you never hear or see from it again. I'll give you a perfect example.
Yeah.
You know what it was last year? Last year it was this strange metal octopus thing that was buried off the coast of I think it was Massachusetts in the beach or somewhere.
Okay.
And I actually bookmarked it and kept coming back for a while. And first it was, we don't know what it is. Then they started moving some more dirt, and we're gonna have to come back and do a whole dig to get this out of here.
Okay.
Then another article came back, and it's too big to dig up. We don't know what could have possibly put it here. We have no idea what it was. And then there was some real foggy and cloudy pictures where you could just kind of make it out a little bit.
Why in today's age are there foggy and cloudy pictures anyway? I'm sorry to jump on that. But
always.
Come on. But go on. I'm sorry. Go on.
So like for months, I kept cycling back around, following this thing up, and then all of a sudden it was, well, in a couple weeks we're gonna drag this bitch out of there, and we're gonna see what the hell she was.
Okay.
That was the last story ever.
You never saw another.
That was the last story ever written about the damn thing.
Not a single article. Well, after this, we should take a look and see if they wrote something.
Oh, I'm gonna show. I can't believe you might recognize it once you see the picture, because I feel like I had to have told you about this.
Yeah, you probably did, but I do know that they do that with a lot of things. Not even just discoveries, like the birds dying and just massive quantities. Like they'll touch on it and then it's gone after a week.
Yeah. Oh.
Fish washing up on shore dead. Hundreds of fish. What's going on? Well, that week's over. What else is going on? And then that's it. So they never explained what the hell's going on. So.
All right. Well, speaking of what the hell's going on, this kind of ties into Bryan Singer and the stuff we were talking about earlier. But righteous rage, John. I want to say a few words about righteous rage, and this comes from the Kavanaugh stuff with this woman coming out saying that there was a rape attempt against her. And all the hearing and confirmation stuff has come to a screeching halt, and everybody's mad on both sides.
Okay.
Here's the amazing part, looking through at this stuff on Twitter and all of that. No matter what the circumstances are, no matter what the debate is, it never comes down to a human decision on which side people get angry on and which side they take. It always just so happens to coincidentally line up with their political beliefs. So the people on the right, to a man, to every single person I've seen on Twitter, none of them are like, you know what? I'm all for the Republican Party. I love Donald Trump. I thought this Kavanaugh guy was a great choice and great. But wait a minute, they're like this woman clearly has something to say, and there's history and documented it that she's not just coming out of the blue with this. None of them can just stop and say, damn, that sucks. That guy's a deal breaker. There has to be another Republican out there that doesn't have this kind of stink on him. Let's find that guy. No, they all got to dig in. No way, this woman's telling the truth. She must be like, oh, what a coincidence. The rape victim, or the alleged rape victim, is counter to your party. What a coincidence it happens there. It's never that something bad happened and that sucks for your party. It's always, no, that's a big scam and an attack on our party. It's all fucking made up. I'm just tired. I just want to see one person make a human decision that doesn't fall directly in line with their party affiliations.
Well, again, I think I've been beating this drum for a while. It's like you have the two parties, and it's like you have the Democrats and the Republicans, which is already a moderate joke to me, but that's another story. That they're always, it used to be like, oh, you know, you're blue, oh, you're red, oh, okay, and you can talk. Now it's like you mentioned that you're a Republican, and if it's a Democrat, they want to shoot you. I've actually heard about families who split over your political. Well, huh? You're a family. Why are you letting politics split you up? Like it's horrible.
Because here is the true danger in all of this. It's the righteous anger, John. Everybody feels justified and entitled to their anger, and that their anger is the moral high ground. So whatever actions they take out of that anger is for the greater good, or is to stop the unbridled evil. It's, again, everything's extreme. If your side doesn't win, it's the end of the world. We're all gonna die, and life is over as we know it.
Yeah.
And when you get a bunch of simple-minded people that are led whichever way the wind blows and whichever way their party's freaking propaganda machine is leaning them, then it gets real easy to get into these problems where they're lost. They're not following any kind of rationale or reason, because that side has been painted as Hitler or Nazis or whatever this. So the stakes have been painted and trumped up to such a degree that every single person feels like they got to be aggressive and take action and beat down the person on the other side.
And those are the worst of the worst, because you could do that in anything. I have friends who, even if they know they're wrong, will just dig in stubbornly and just till the very end. And those watching, you know who you are. You know who you are. Stop being so childish. It's ridiculous.
There's nothing you could be wrong about that to me would be more pathetic and more humiliating than obviously being wrong and not being able to acknowledge it. That to me is the most blatant example of you're just hopeless. Like there's nothing I can do with you, because your entire moral fabric is corrupted when if it goes against what you want to be the reality, you'll simply deny it.
Yeah.
Where does that end? Does that end at you stealing something from me? Does that end with you cheating on me? Does that end with you doing something completely unethical and just deciding that it didn't really happen because that I'm not a bad person?
But see, it feels like when people do that again, they need to feel important. They need to feel special. So therefore, their rage is much more righteous and proper and better than your rage because it's their rage. And I'm more important than you. Therefore, I can say whatever I want. And it doesn't matter what you have to say. Oh, you have something to say? Now I can get even angrier. It's like, what? Why is it constantly with anger? Why is everyone meeting each other with anger all the time?
Because there's the unseen forces that are feeding into that anger and continuing to push it. Because again, I think the core of all of this is motivated from one spot. It is life or death stakes for both the Democrats and the Republicans right now. Because we've reached a jump the shark moment where there's so much corruption and evil on both sides that they all know the dirt on each other. Because for generations and generations, the unspoken truth was you do your shady shit, I do my shady shit. We argue in the public perception, and we're both stealing the country blind on this. But somewhere along the way, I don't know if this is the Trump effect on politics, but the gloves have come off. We're not hiding each other's dirt and stink anymore. So I think they're both accusing each other of stuff that's accurate and true that they're both doing. And they're getting their sides to be so blinded by anger and rage that they won't believe anything that their side's accused of, but they'll believe everything the other side's accused of.
Right, yeah.
Instead of holding everybody accountable.
Again, you have to take responsibility for your actions. I don't care who you are. I don't care where you are. You have to know what you've done, and you have to live with those consequences, and you have to own up to it. That's the best way to do it. Is it comfortable? No, nobody wants to say, hey, dude, I accidentally broke the door off your fridge because I'm an idiot and I was slammed into it like a moron. You don't want to, but what are you going to do? Your fridge is broken. It sucks. What you do? Right? So that's what I'm saying. Like, stop being so like defensive and angry. Just take a second and look at yourself and just see. This is everybody. We can get so much better if we just take responsibility for our actions. And honestly.
My final thoughts on the whole Kavanaugh thing are this. I don't know if she's telling the truth or not, but the circumstantial evidence leads me to believe she probably fucking is. So at the very least, are you telling me we can't find one guy, one woman, one person to nominate that doesn't have any stink on them, that doesn't have this type of sordid thing in their past? All right, great. We didn't know we did. Now we do. Let's move on and find somebody else. I don't care which way your politics lean. You got to be able to find one person that they can't find a sexual predatory action in the past.
There's got to be tons of people who haven't done that, right? Like, come on, let's be honest.
That's the most amazing thing about politics in this day and age right now is finding one person that doesn't have some sort of sexual accusation against them.
Because it seems like everybody now who's anything, the rumblings at the very least at this point that they could have done this, they did this, child, boy, girl, it's like it's everybody, really everybody now. Is this honestly? I don't want to drag it out too long, but is this like the Red Scare back in the day when everyone was accusing everyone of being a communist? It's the same type of deal because there were communists, but were the accusations far greater on everyone than there actually were communists?
I think that's the danger that we run into is that there are so many
McCarthyism. That's what it was called.
There are so many. Not perpetrators. Well, I guess perpetrators would be. There's so many perpetrators that have committed some sort of vile action against women that it's easy to layer in a tainted story or a takedown or
that's exactly what I'm saying. So the fake stories get mixed in with the real stories. Then you don't know what's real. So you have to basically prosecute everyone because you don't want the guilty ones getting away.
And again, it just feeds into the ability to hide within all of that too, because then it creates more ambiguity. Yeah. And now, well, see, there's so many complaints going on now. A portion of them have to be inaccurate. So guess what? This is the inaccurate one. My one.
Yeah. Of course.
Yeah, and that's just where it goes. So, moving on. Next subject here. For many of you, we've been keeping our eye. Our left eye, John? Is there a left eye?
Left eye's
good. We've been keeping our left eye on Legion M. Legion M is the first audience-owned studio They've done 3 or 4 rounds of funding and have yet to make their own intellectual property or put up the funds for their own production. We sent a spy. We should have had him do some undercover video on that, so we could have done like a David Letterman segment here where
totally behind the scenes.
That would have been great. We sent. I almost said the name of our spy, John.
Do not do that, otherwise you're going to spoil the whole identity.
I'm not used to having spies, John. I gotta know how to manage them. So,
did they unearth some sort of a secret?
We sent a spy into the Legion M screenings this past weekend for the Mandy movie.
That's the new Nicolas Cage movie.
That's the new Nicolas Cage movie. Yeah,
it's a horror, right?
That Legion M is a part of.
Okay.
Yeah. So apparently, Legion M's affiliation with this amounts to a soundtrack for a movie that didn't have any songs in it because it was all an original score, and the soundtrack is not the original score. So this to me looks like a quid pro quo, as in the makers of what I've heard from our spy is an absolutely brutally terrible movie, despite what they're trying to pass off in the reviews. They knew that they had a stinker on their hands and they needed a built-in audience to get this thing out there. And Legion M has a big giant audience that they're recruiting, raising of investors that have a vested interest in whatever Legion M's attached to being good. And they're not making anything themselves. They're just attaching themselves to projects after the fact, regardless of whether it's quality product or not. So they agreed to make a soundtrack with a bunch of bullshit music nobody would have bought or heard with or without it being on a movie soundtrack, and attached themselves to this. So then they went and had a bunch of 100 screenings, and apparently, from what the spy told me, John, it wasn't very well run at all. Basically, anyone that invested in the company could volunteer to run one of the screenings, which, great, that's how it should be. Give them an opportunity to be a part of what it was.
Okay, yeah, that sounds good.
But they didn't give them any kind of support or anything. So apparently there was these little pin packages and these little trinkets that were given to each one that came to the screening and all of that. The screening my friend went to, they didn't have enough for people that had booked ahead of time and made the reservation to go to this Legion M screening and all of that.
Okay.
They didn't have enough trinkets for everybody, so people were left out. The woman that ran the event had what the person would call no training or no past experience with running an event or people and hosting and that type of thing. They were all on their own.
Okay.
And it looked like basically something an independent filmmaker or whatever would try to do for their screening if they didn't have enough friends or people to help them and make something happen.
And that feels to me more like what your standard LA is like. So let me ask you this question.
Even lower than that.
Well, right, but I'm saying, I've seen a lot of...
Seems like something that would happen in, Houston or whatever with a local filmmaker.
So that being said, let me ask you this. So they've already done a couple of rounds of fundraising, I'm pretty sure.
They're heading into their 4th round of funding. They're taking reservations for.
How much did they make on their first round? Guess. I don't know if they have exact numbers.
They started with refunder. So the first round of funding, legally, you could raise a maximum of $1 million.
Okay.
So they sold out their $1 million raise.
Okay.
Yes. And then, so I don't know the specific numbers on this, but I know from the research of the path we're going down that the next thing we could run is a Series A offering.
Okay.
And a Series A offering, from what has been explained to me through the WeFunder paperwork we're going through, we could then raise up to $50 million in our round 2 of funding. Now, I'm not saying that Legion M did raise $50 million in the round 2 funding, but they are promoting themselves as they've sold out rounds 1, 2, and 3 in funding. So take that from that what you will, but they've already raised over $10 million in funding, have yet to make any of their own intellectual property, and they clearly didn't put much money back into the running and the execution
That's what I was going to say.
Of these screenings.
That's what I was going to say. So you have this money, and don't get me wrong, I'm not saying everything's easy and all that.
It's hard.
I'm not coming down on them. Of course it's difficult, but it's like...
You're taking these people's money.
You have this money. You want to create a product that's good to watch. So don't have something and run out of trinkets at the very least. Why would you run out of trinkets?
People are investing in you to make movies. And all you keep doing is running rounds of fundraising and not making movies. Attaching yourself to the back end of movies and pointing your already established audience at somebody else's project, saying go support that because we stamped our name on it. That's not making movies. That is absolutely not what people invested in Legion M under the guise of.
Right.
And so a lot of this stuff to me, there's a lot of early parallels to something else we've talked about many times in the past on Gratcast, which is the Star Citizen implosion. And
I was just going to ask about that.
Yeah, and Derek Smart called them out about 2 years ago that this whole thing looks like a giant Ponzi scheme. Like, there's no game here. The demos that you keep showing us don't work. They crashed. They're terrible. You said you were raising so much money to make this game. You've raised multiple times that amount of money. You continue to raise the money, and you're years and years past the deadlines that you said you were going to deliver this game. And now they're issuing so many refunds, and they're fighting so many legal battles over whether or not this is a Ponzi scheme. They're still selling digital goods for a game that may never exist. And what you're really buying is their legal funds.
Yeah, and this is probably what they're doing. All the way to the bank, folks. All the way to the bank, just laughing at us, just giving that money, and you may never see it. You may never see it again. You may not see a product.
I have no idea if this is what Legion M will ultimately that's the fate that waits them or not.
Sure.
But I don't know. Everything we're going down the road of trying to do something similar to what they're doing. And as somebody knee-deep in that information and those numbers, there's a lot of things that they're doing and that's going on there that just doesn't line up with what I think should be done, what could be done, what would authentically be done. Like, for example, these guys all have Hollywood backgrounds and executive information. They are the establishment. They got the stamp of Marvel. They got a bunch of A-list actors and people that say their names are all on it yet. But millions and millions of dollars isn't enough to package their own film, to attach a couple of these friends and stars that have patted Legion M on the back and put that into development where you bring in some extra funding and all of that. I understand it takes a while to develop projects and all of this, but they've been raising funds for 3-4 years now. And with the model and project we're putting in place, if we raise that full $1 million that we're looking to raise, that you can raise...
That's just $1 million now.
Yeah. The first pass-through refunder, we already know we're going to finance 4 projects. We're going to go right into production with those 4 projects. A month later, you're going to be able to watch those projects getting made and be a part of that entire experience. But millions and millions of dollars and years later, with a built-in audience, they still haven't made their own movies. Do they even own their own intellectual property? And the Bear's back. And the Bear's back.
Yeah.
I guarantee he went on the other side of the door and whined and cried that he couldn't come into us.
And then he came in and he instantly started whining and crying. That's this guy here.
All right. So we're bringing it in for a landing here towards the end of the show. We've got our new section that debuted last week that we're going to do again here this week. We've got our Discord questions. We're going to do a quick 15-second break and do a little branding for Gratwick. Gratwick Productions is a transparent,
audience-owned and driven studio
built to serve the modern artist.
Discord questions. The first question we have, Andrea, comes from...
Emily. Emily would like to know, hypothetically, if you could make any big blockbuster movie, already created or not, what would you want to do?
Oh, this is an easy question, John.
So why don't you hit yours first?
Hallowed Be Thy Name. Hallowed Be Thy Name is the book I've been writing that was always supposed to be a tentpole blockbuster franchise. And I knew there was no way I was going to have any ability to make a $100 million movie at any time soon. So I put it in novel format and started building a much bigger company that could ultimately someday get this entire franchise made. But yeah, that's the end game of Gratwick, is Hallowed Be Thy Name.
I wasn't going to jump on that one. I thought about it because...
I can't say to make my
everything movie. I know, but everything you've told me about that, it deserves to be a novel/movie. It deserves it.
Just as long as you weren't going to say you were going to make my movie.
No, I would no. She said C-made, not necessarily made. Anyway, I would like Dragonlance, which is an amazing fantasy book, fantasy trilogy, which it's similar to Tolkien, so you're going to be like, that's kind of like Tolkien. Okay, so it's their influence by Tolkien, but it's a great trilogy.
Once you get dragons, everything's similar.
Well, yeah, of course, but it's a great trilogy. And that spans even longer than that. It actually spans generations through these novels. But they actually made an animated series, and Kiefer Sutherland was one of the main characters. It blew. Don't watch the animated Dragonlance. Anything. There's no Dragonlance that's made. Please, somebody. We'll have this company make Dragonlance when we get the time to it. That sounds good. What's next?
Next, with Disney buying Lucas and Fox, is there any concern that they will one day own everything and make it even harder for small filmmakers to get a start? Will Mickey Mouse rule the world?
I think Mickey Mouse is determined to rule the world.
Yeah.
They're corrupting one young generation at a time and grooming them to worship the mouse. But more importantly, I think Disney is definitely going to risk saturation, like overexposure. There's just so much of it, and
every movie they're doing it. Every movie they're just dumping it on you, dumping.
And not only that, but imagine if you're a Disney fan above a Star Wars fan or above a Marvel fan, you're consuming all of that stuff. So there's just saturation everywhere you turn from Disney.
Yeah.
And I just think that there's going to get to a point where so many people are so far behind that more and more they check out. Not to go in completely left field with this, but it's a little bit like the digital downloads for games like Destiny. So every couple months, Destiny offers a new update and more expanded content. But each time they add a new expanded update, their user base gets smaller and smaller and smaller, the people that have bought on to continue down the game. So there's less and less of a pool of players that are part of that.
Sure.
I think in the same is going to happen from the viewer side, that these monstrous brands and universes, the biggest problem they're going to have is a lack of scarcity. And every time they bring one out, they're going to ostracize more and more people that aren't able to keep up.
So you think that they will eventually implode? Not implode, but you mean like they're going to lose their fan base because they're oversaturated? So it's like, been there, done it, seen it.
I think there's a tipping point coming sooner than later where these giant $100 million superhero Star Wars
going to burn out, right?
Those budgets are not going to be delivering the billion-dollar returns that they've been doing, and I just think it's going to be because of oversaturation.
I mean, you make a good point. I've said that Disney's been every movie they get Star Wars, it goes into the cars. It has nothing to do with Star Wars, but you hear the theme, and now they're white cars. But what does a car have to do with Star Wars? Doesn't matter. Boom, 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 boom. Sell. So, yeah.
I can buy a Star Wars toaster if I want.
I actually agree with you, although those are kind of cool. Stormtrooper face on the toaster. That's kind of cool.
Next question.
Snake has a hypothetical. You're prepping to film a movie that will compete with a Marvel movie, and you want an actor such as Vin Diesel to play the main or lead role. But the casting director decides to hire someone else. What do you do?
First of all, in this unique situation, I would thank the casting director for saving me from making a mistake of casting Vin Diesel. But in all seriousness, I don't think that would ever happen in my scenario because I'm not hiring a casting director that would feel emboldened enough to hire my lead actor without my input and say so. Like, really? It's one thing if you're hiring the big characters so I can't put my sexual offender friends in it, like the Predator guy, but freaking the lead actor, John?
Didn't she say hypothetical, right?
Yeah, hypothetically, I would fire the casting director.
Now you know. Now you got the answer. At least now you know.
That cast the lead actor without my input.
We have to fire Vin and the casting director.
Explain to everyone how it actually works, because apparently it seems like people think they're the ones who choose for you.
So, to me, how a casting director should work is anyone above a certain level of importance in the movie, i.e. more than one scene, the director should be at least signing off on them being hired and cast in the movie and a vision of what they want and need for their creative vision. Anyone below that's a background actor or one-line actor or whatever, the casting director should be saving everybody some time in finding who those people are and filling those roles. But more importantly, the casting director's primary purpose is to find the leads, to find the potential candidates, to set up the auditions, to run the entire casting process so the director can just say, let me see this person, let me see this person, let me see this person. No, I don't like that. Look at that person. I don't like the look of that person. Let me see this person, this person. And then those people are all brought in, and the director's present to see and evaluate them in person. That's the ideal scenario of how it should run and go. If you've got an auto-anonymous casting director that's hiring all the key roles for you, I don't have much respect for you as a director.
And there you go.
All
no,
right.
I know.
John agrees.
Yeah, I actually do.
Well, Kels has a question.
Okay.
There's two, actually.
Two-parter.
Two parts. What are some of the differences between female and male actors? For example, are either one more difficult to work with?
I don't think you can break that down by gender. I think everybody's personality and how you get to them and how you get what you want out of them is completely different. So I think it's more important that you know their personality and have a strategic approach that relates to that person's personality. And one person might be more reserved and conservative, and the role might be outspoken and woo, and you gotta coax them out of that. You gotta talk them up, and you gotta give them the big game day speech and get them amped up. But another person, like I'll give you a perfect example. Jonathan Tiersten. He was always amped up behind the scenes and ready to go and hyped up into his lines and all of that. But sometimes you had to be able to temper that a little bit and say you need a little more subtlety and nuance in this section, so that when you are all amped up on screen a little bit later, it plays and clashes better. But there's no way to say one gender over the other gender is easier or more difficult to work with in that. Because you have no idea what you're going to get out of a personality from each person you deal with.
And that makes a lot of sense, because while I haven't made films myself, I mean, I've worked in industries where there's lots of men and women, just even serving in restaurants. It's the same thing. You never know who you're going to get. Some guy could be totally chemically imbalanced, and some woman could be perfectly on spot. Some child could be crazy. Some child could be normal. It really depends on who you're dealing with, the individual.
I know, like, every other week we rant about diversity and the stupidity of racism and all this dumb shit.
Right.
But, like, I don't know how far into life you got to get, but it shouldn't be too far before you realize that assholes come in every color, fucking good people come in every color, freaking smart people come in every gender, and like, maybe you met a dumb one today.
Yeah.
Tomorrow they could be the smartest person you're ever going to meet in your entire life. I just don't understand how you could possibly not have enough life experiences to realize there is no possible way to put any two people into the same box without, like, before you ever get to meet them.
Well, that's a perfect follow-up to the second one here.
Okay.
How do you determine the standard salary for an actor or actress? What considerations do you make before you offer them a salary? And, I'm adding this on there, if they're both the leads, a male and a female.
Well, to me, the way I would do it, breaking it down step by step, is if it's a union project, you got to start with what scale is. And then from scale, it goes up based on the quality of the name recognition and the value that they bring to the project. And there's numbers that they have behind the scenes that a sales agent will give you, and they can show you this person's last 7 movies, the average box office release number looks like this. So that's a big leveraging and negotiating tool that the agents use when you're hiring and casting these people.
Yeah.
So if you're going with a name actor and an established person, you're going to have to balance it off of what they got paid in the past, what they got paid for a similar budgeted project, what their last several movies have done, which is why, like Entourage, one of the biggest slogans that they had in there was always find your next project before your last project comes out. So if the project is bad, you already have another project in the works that can recover before people even remember that it's bad. And vice versa, if it's good, then you can just keep it going and rolling on that momentum. But if it's a totally unknown actor, then really scale is where you should start with. The big reason, scale is a pretty good rate a lot of times. It's like $400 or $500 for union actors that are leads and stuff like that. Like, right? Ballpark?
Could be more.
There you go. Could be more.
Go up from there.
Yeah.
But it's all balancing the information at hand and making a smart play. But if it's 2 leads and they're 2 known actors and they're opposite genders, everyone would like it to be as simple as, well, they should be paid the same. But that really doesn't work that way. One may have more leverage than the other one based on star power, based on cachet, based on previous sales, based on screen time. They might be 2 leads, but one's on screen for an hour and 10 minutes, and the other one's on screen for 35, 40 minutes. One I need for 3 weeks of shooting, the other one I need for a week of shooting. There's so many variables that go into all that stuff.
And you got to do your research, too. You can't just be like, oh, lead, 50, 100, done. It's like you said, it's not like that. Plus, their agents are going to be, hey, look at all this we've done. We should get paid the most on the film. Oh, I should get paid the most. It's got to be a huge balance.
Too many variables that get much easier to sort out and navigate with transparency and smart contracts.
Yeah, there you go. Exactly.
And that concludes the Discord questions.
That concludes Discord questions. Okay.
Thanks for the questions.
John, we're doing a quick change over here, heading into the bullet blitzes, so make sure you got our sound effect right.
Ready to go.
You went first last week, John, so I'm going to go first this week.
Let's hit it.
Hit me with my yeah, there's my sound effect. All right, John. While we were setting up today and all of that, my tablet just went out right when I was looking at it for my question. So I came across a little, Fox News has a little slider of all sorts of different clickbait articles.
Okay.
And one of the clickbait articles was vegan brisket, John. So my question to you is, would you ever eat vegan brisket? And if so, would you consider eating it regularly?
Honestly, you're going to hate the answer, but I would consider eating it. And if it tasted good, I would consider eating it regularly. But I would. I honestly would give it a shot. Because I'm open to trying different stuff. But why not? I know you're the meat and potatoes guy, the main meat, and I get it. But I'm willing to give it a shot.
See, I'm conflicted on these things. I don't like the idea of vegan meat in the first place.
No, I can understand that, because it's not meat.
But at the same time, I love the idea of the Star Trek food synthesizer, and that's basically fabricated lab meat anyway.
Yes.
It's just I trust the Star Trek synthesizer much more than I trust real-world scientists to make something healthy for me.
Of course. So you trust the fantasy, the illusion of what you want it to be, as opposed to what it really is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's good stuff. Okay, well, moving on. So, going through the online world recently, I've seen some articles about people getting paid lots of money, and some people not appreciating that. Is there somebody, a profession, or even one person whom you think that is way overpaid? And if so, why?
Oh, absolutely. I think college football coaches are obscenely paid.
Okay.
In most states around the country, the highest paid public employee is the university football coach.
Oh my God.
Oh, it's ridiculous.
Wow.
And it's even more insane when you see most of these guys are getting paid 2-3 times more than the NFL coaches are getting, and the players aren't getting a single penny. They can't even work a side job to be able to afford pizza on the weekends.
I mean,
and all
that's
that.
definitely ridiculous.
Oh, it's insane. But yeah, totally.
That's definitely. I would address more on that. I would, because I got a whole lot to say about that. But let's make them quick. So. One of the articles I'd seen was this Jared Leto and his $73 million hoodie. I know we discussed it in the beginning. I'm like, a $73 million hoodie. So I look at it. He's wearing this pink hoodie. And on the back, it's got the top 5 grossing models, female models, and their what they earn. Of which I could run down it because I have it right here. So just very quickly. Excuse me. Kendall Jenner, $22 million. Gisele Bundchen, $17.5 million. Chrissy Teigen, $13.5 million. Adriana Lima, $10.5 million, and Gigi Hadid, or whatever it is,
I don't understand for the life of me
how
how Chrissy Teigen is making $13 million a year. Number one, she looks like an average everyday American. She's not overly attractive. She's not unattractive.
Okay.
Her body weight fluctuates and all that, which doesn't matter or anything in an everyday sense. But as a supermodel,
she was just pregnant, dude.
Again, it's okay. So you just had a baby.
That's fluctuating. That's creating life.
So you just had a baby the past year, and you still made $13 million as a model when all you do is piss and moan on Twitter.
Okay. No, I get this. I understand.
So
he's not a fan of Chrissy Teigen.
That's more than these damn college coaches are making, and that's freaking too much money.
So anyway.
I changed my answer. Chrissy Teigen.
So anyway, the article follows up with. Well, just by the way, Jared reportedly earned $7 million in the role of Suicide Squad.
Actually working.
So yeah, doing something.
Pissing and moaning on Twitter.
So I think honestly, I think sports players are paid way too much money, and I love sports. Now you're always going to get to the debate between the owner who makes that much more and the player. I understand that whole dynamic, but really. When someone's making 20, I know as long as someone's willing to pay them, they can earn what they want. But $20 million a year. For anyone, but anyone who's making $20 million a year, unless you're like saving lives all the time, you don't deserve $20 million a year. You just don't. Again, with all this scarcity and everyone's poor in the world, I know these are all individually owners and it's the leagues, and I understand how that all works. But it's in general, it's like, I could go to models too. It's like, do you need to make $17.5 million to have a good life?
On a bigger picture, I don't think, again, one extreme, is bad, just as bad as the other.
Sure.
I don't think socialism is the answer.
Oh, no, definitely not.
But I don't think ruthless capitalism is the answer either.
Well, it's got to be somewhere between, like you said. Neither extreme is good. Find the in the middle.
Because the problem with the biggest flaw to me with capitalism is the bare minimums and the maximums are left to people to do the right thing or nothing at all. So I think in a certain level, like you need a minimum wage. I think at a certain level there has to be a maximum wage that's balanced out on whatever that company earned the previous year. The max salary for that company can be so and so, and everything else has to be either go back reinvested into the company or goes to the payroll of the company or whatever. But you look at Walmart, look at Amazon. You leave these people to regulate themselves with certain things, and they're not going to do it.
Right.
I'm going to give myself $1 billion. I'm going to give them minimum wage, and they're all going to be living off food stamps.
Yeah.
And at the same time, you can't impose the same minimum wage on a mom and pop shop that you can impose on the most lucrative company in America, whether it's Walmart or Amazon.
Starbucks or anything,
Yeah.
right, sure.
So, again, if we can have taxes based on tax brackets and things like that, I think there should be wage structures based on last year's tax brackets for corporations.
Yeah.
So if you made this much in earnings, the minimum wage for your company for the next year is this much. If you guys start losing money, then it'll fluctuate accordingly so you can rebound.
Right.
At the same token, if your company made this much, then the maximum salaries within the company can be this much. If your company makes this much money has to be put back into the payroll of your company. It's borrowing a lot from sports structures and all of that, which ironically are the people getting paid obscene amounts and all of that. But
hey, 17 and 22 million Kendall Jenner. That's out of control.
But do you know why these type of fields and all of that, the income levels keep going up to these absurd, obscene numbers? Because
well, one, it's because people are willing to pay them.
Number two, it's because they're able to negotiate and barter for a sizable chunk of the earnings of what they're generating into whatever the business and industry it is. So imagine if you're in an office desk job and you as the office desk job people are doing the majority of the labor that this company does. Mm-hmm. We're the labor force. There should be a certain percentage of what we're generating put back into the labor force.
Of course.
If that's done, you're going to see salaries increase.
Yes.
You're going to see all industries, the rising things. They might not reach millions and millions of dollars, but if their industry is generating hundreds of millions and millions of dollars, then their income's going to reflect that. But if you allow people to do as they please completely and utterly, most people are not going to do the right thing when it comes to taking care of other people. It's just human nature. That's why, again, this is why we have a fire department. This is why we have a police department. This is why we have a school system and all these different things. Because we already acknowledged, even though socialism's bad, we already acknowledged that certain areas we need to regulate, or it'll be a shit show.
Of course. Yeah, that's a tough one. But let's not drag us out too much. You want to get to the next one?
All right. Next bullet blitz. Looking around the room to pull something off the top of my head. All right, I got something, John.
I'm not hearing it.
John, where's our sound effect? There it is.
It wasn't going.
Okay, John. Bottled waters, John. They put a ton of plastic and pollutants into the environment and all of those things. Are you for or against the bottled water?
I use them less than I used to. I actually hate the idea of the plastic because I know it goes to some countries. Literally, it goes but some countries will buy our plastic waste and recycle what they can recycle and then just leave the rest of our waste in their country. I'm drinking a plastic bottle right now, so I can't say I'm against them, but I would have grabbed a glass of water, but your pitcher is so far back in that refrigerator and buried behind soda and orange juice and milk. Yes, water is in the back of the fridge. There's a couple water bottles on the next shelf.
Andrew's parents just left town. We're all stocked up.
Tons of soda pop. Tons of it. Too much.
All right, John.
They love it.
What about the plastic straw? For it or against it?
I haven't seen anything. We use it where I work. I haven't seen a bad thing about it, to be honest.
So you guys aren't following the rules?
No. I'm sorry. We use the paper straw at work.
Paper straw? How does a paper straw work?
Dude, it works. It's what we use. We use it's black paper on the outside. It's like and it lasts. It'll actually sit in the liquid for an hour, and then after maybe an hour or two, it'll start to deteriorate.
I don't know if I like that. I don't want my straw deteriorating into my drink.
Well, if you have a drink for 2 hours, you're clearly not drinking it the right way. You're like, come on.
Well, if it's deteriorating after 2 hours, it's
the paper straw.
Micro-deteriorating.
The paper straw I don't care about, but I guess I'd be splitting hairs if I said I'm okay with water bottles, but I'm not okay with straws.
I think I'm gonna rat out your company.
We use paper straws is what we use. We have some leftover plastic straws that we use for the employees, so we can't give to anyone because that's illegal. So we just use those in the back. I'm just telling you, hey, you asked. I'm just telling you.
I'm a secret shopper your ass.
Please come in secret shopper my ass. That'd be great. I'd love to have you come into my restaurant.
Do a hidden camera and everything.
Yeah, all right. What about you? You asked me the question. Are you for all this stuff? You don't care. He don't care.
Bottled waters are convenient. I've never really used straws.
Yeah, right? Okay,
I don't use straws.
Smoothies and milkshakes, yeah, you do. We got a whole thing over there.
Producer's calling him out on his BS,
not
people.
By choice.
Not by choice. Yeah. Who's gonna drink Who's gonna drink a milkshake with no straw?
This is a good time for a chewy.
Yeah. Okay, I got this. Let's go, buddy. Let's go. Oh, and what's that? You got? That's right, R2.
The whole gang's here.
That's what he said. That's what he said.
All right, John. Your last bullet blitz, and we can end this.
Okay. I gotta. Okay, on to my last bullet.
It's been a while, but I feel like this is going to be an editing disaster.
Going through these windows. Okay, so I just saw an article that one of my favorite shows had originally come out in 1978. I prefer the remake to the show. What's your favorite show that was remade?
You aren't going to tell us what the show was?
Well, I'm not supposed to answer my question before.
Yeah, he's been making a bad habit of that. John, when you have really good questions like this, these are the ones I'm supposed to have in advance so I can give really good answers to these.
Okay, I can give you another one maybe. Could be
I already know what show you're going to pick.
Of course, so you can probably see it on my screen.
I can't see it on your screen, but it's going to be Battlestar Galactica.
Of course it is. It's amazing.
Dark Shadows was good.
Can I say a show that was remade that I really like the original one instead of...
Of course, yeah, go ahead.
V.
Oh, yeah, the original was so good. With Mark Singer. Oh, it was great.
Dude, that was
great.
Yeah, that was.
I didn't even watch the remake. I didn't even watch it, so I don't even know if it was good or bad. I didn't waste my time.
It was tough.
Was it really?
It had enough of the essence there that you wanted to like it.
Yeah.
But it just...
Okay, so basically the way it was this, then. I'm going to paint this picture. You saw the original V, loved it. I can see why you loved it. It was incredible. If you haven't seen it...
For victory.
For victory. Check it out. And you wanted the remake.
Tell your friends.
You wanted...
that's the old guy's voice.
All right.
V for victory.
So you wanted the remake to be as good or better than the original, obviously. Because you saw some of the elements you were hoping, but it fell short. That's where I feel Battlestar Galactica actually took those elements and made them better. Now, you watch the series, whatever you think of it is fine, but this is one of my favorites. They switched some of the sexes of the characters to make a different dynamic, but ultimately it was still they're searching for Earth, and I really love the way they did it.
I liked Battlestar Galactica. I felt they tried too hard to force everyday situations for real life into what they were dealing with on the ships. I can't remember any specific examples.
Well, there was one where I think the water ship, something had happened, or the food. Something was going on with the ship, and they needed to fix it, but then, of course, they had other problems, too. Because,
yeah, but I'm saying there was, like...
What do you mean?
I can't think of this... This will serve as a good example. So, Star Trek, back in the day.
Okay.
Star Trek had an episode where they were playing poker at the start of the episode on the table and all of that, because it was the poker craze and this all that.
Oh, yeah.
And there was this period of time where poker was hot on ESPN and everything like that. And every single TV show and series had to have their cold open with their players playing poker and have some sort of poker-related episode.
Sure.
And I feel like there were a few times when Battlestar Galactica had storylines that would be completely irrelevant to a group of people that were on spaceships traveling through space trying to survive because they were trying to relate to a social issue that was going on here in the real world.
Okay. I mean, that makes sense. But that's just them trying to... At least it was better than...
Make it relatable.
That was them trying to make it relatable, of course. They even tried to do that with what you mentioned earlier, Caprica. They did the same type of thing in Caprica, which is different writers, but they still did the same idea. Which Caprica was a follow-up show to Battlestar Galactica.
That's
about
actually
one of the cities on one of the main planets.
I actually like that show way better.
Did you?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Because the VR, of course.
Oh, I
you
love
the VR.
The whole New Cap
And-
City.
and
The whole idea
the
of
beginning of the Cylons and shit.
If you get kicked out of the virtual reality world, your DNA is blocked, so you can't ever come back. So there's
He watched it way more than I did. I only watched a couple episodes.
you love Battlestar Galactica.
The show it just seemed like the CW's version of Battlestar.
Oh no, dude, it was so
bopper.
good. So there was real stakes in the VR world that they all went to and played in and plotted terrorist attacks and stuff in. If you got killed if you got killed in the virtual reality world, you were kicked out of the game and your DNA sample was blacklisted, so you couldn't ever come back into the city again. So you didn't die in real life, but there was real stakes in there of to what level you could be an asshole and end up getting killed in the VR world and be banished from it.
Oh, okay. But there must have been murderers in that world too, right? They just didn't get caught?
No, there's no crime. You could do whatever you want in it. You could do so like there was a nightclub and they'd have big like underground fight clubs in that where they fight to the death in there. And
so if you die though in there, then you know that's the stake. You just can't ever go back.
Yeah.
Oh my.
Yeah.
Okay. Well.
So then there's like mobsters and gangsters that run New Cap City, and they've got their team of people and shit.
New Cap City. It's like he's from there.
Oh, dude. I'm telling you, man.
It just reminded me like Smallville. It was kind of like the craze. Like that's like the teeny version of Superman when he was younger. There's a few others where it's just like the CW, like it's the hip young kids, and I'm like, that's.
Is that where it aired? Was on the CW?
I think it did air.
Oh, I watched it. I watched it on.
It could have been sci-fi, but that's the vibe it had. The feel
I feel like it was
a
Sci-Fi Channel show.
It could have been. It could have been.
All right, John. Do you have my favorite song queued up?
I do, as a matter of fact. Would you like to hear it?
Yeah. Let's bring this show in for a landing.
Let's wrap it up.
I've got
folks.
nothing to pimp, nothing to tease. We've got our Twitter handles over here. Like the show, subscribe to the show. Jump in our Discord. Give us some questions. We'll ask it next week. You can win prizes, all sorts of heavy horse shit.
All right. Let's do this.
Esports Labs coming soon.
You should check it out, seriously. Hey, don't forget, look for us in the tournaments. We're gonna win.
Coming soon. We'll tell you when we're up and in the tournaments.
Peace.
Fuck this shit, I'm out. Fuck this shit, I'm out. No thanks, don't mind me. I'ma just grab my stuff and leave. Excuse me, please.
Fuck this shit, I'm out. No.
Fuck this shit, I'm out. Alright then.
I don't know what the fuck just happened.
But I don't really care.
I'm gonna get the fuck up out of here. I'm gonna pull Avante Davis.